Hey everybody. Time for Chapter 1, Section 5. Title is Adding and Subtracting Real Numbers. Starts on page 30. You might be thinking, hey, I've been adding and subtracting since I was in kindergarten. Why do we have to go through this now? But there's lots of mistakes when you get to algebra that students make when they're just trying to add and subtract, especially when you start changing the signs of the numbers. So we're going to start with the list of steps for adding real numbers. If the numbers have the same sign, add the numbers and keep whatever the sign is. I'll give you examples of how to use these here in a second. Number 2, if the numbers have different signs, here's what you have to do. First, figure out which number is bigger, the positive one or the negative one, and answer how much bigger is it. Okay? Another definition, absolute value. The absolute value of a number is its distance away from 0 on a number line. You can never have a negative distance. I can walk 5 miles, but there's no such thing as being able to walk a negative 5 miles. You can't have a negative distance, so since absolute value means distance away from 0, absolute value cannot be negative. For example, the absolute value of 4 is 4. These two bars, are the straight bars, are on the number 4. That means absolute value. So 4 is 4 places away from 0 on a number line. The absolute value of negative 7 is 7, because negative 7 is 7 places away from 0 on the number line. Now, I'm not going to make you use number lines to add real numbers like the book does, but let me just show you what I'm talking about here with this absolute value. Okay, if I've got a number line, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is 4 places away from 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Doesn't matter which direction it is, just how far away it is. Okay? That's how you figure out absolute value. Example of a problem. What is negative 8 plus 4? Now, you can probably come up with this in your head, but they give you easy examples first so you know how to do it. Then they give you the hard one. So they start with an easy one that you can probably even do your head. But use those rules for adding real numbers that I gave you. Remember, you're looking for if the numbers have the same sign or different signs. This one has different signs. So we follow the steps, figure out which number is bigger. Which is the bigger number, the 8 or the 4? Well, the negative one, the negative 8, is bigger than a 4. So the negative one has the bigger number. How much bigger is it? Well, between 8 and 4, it's 4 bigger. So your answer is, it's 4 bigger. So you take the negative sign from up here and the 4 from there, and my answer is negative 4. Okay. Let's do another one of those. Negative 16 plus a negative 8. Okay? I'm adding two things together. I'm adding a negative 16 and a negative 8. Those have the same sign, so I'm going to use that part of the steps. If they have the same sign, add the numbers. 16 and 8 gives me 24. And keep the same sign. The sign that was the same in both of those was the negative one. So the negative sign comes down here, and the 24 comes down. So my answer is negative 24. Question real quick. Why is that negative 8 at the beginning of the problem in parentheses? Well, you're not allowed in algebra to have two signs right next to each other in a problem. Okay? So I can't write negative 16 plus a negative 8 because the plus sign and the negative sign are right next to each other. I can't put them right next to each other, so I have to put the negative 8 in parentheses so that there's something in between the plus and the minus. We'll talk more about that as we go along through the chapter. Next example, same idea. Negative 11, positive 9. Okay, so those are different signs. So my steps are, which one is the bigger number? Well, if I have 11 and 9, the 11 is bigger. 11 is the negative number, so the negative is the bigger number. How much bigger is 11 than 9? Well, it's 2 bigger. Okay? So my answer is negative 2. Negative from this part, the 2 from that part, put them both together to get negative 2 for my answer. 11 plus a negative 9, those are two different signs. The 11 is positive, the 9 is negative. Those are different signs. Which one is the bigger number? Well, the 11 is the bigger number, and it's the positive one. How much bigger is an 11 than a 9? Well, it's 2 bigger. So in this case, my answer is positive 2. Now, when you write a positive number, you don't need the plus sign in front, like you do when you write a negative number. Okay? So my answer is just 2. One more of these. Negative 6 plus negative 2. I'm adding two numbers together. They're both negative numbers. They have the same sign. The steps for same sign says add the numbers. 6 plus 2, that gives me 8. Keep the sign that was the same. The same sign was negative. So I put the 8 together with the negative, and I get an answer of negative 8. Okay? New idea. Two numbers that are the same distance from 0 on a number line, but are in opposite directions, are called opposites. Opposites have the same number, but different signs. So for example, negative 6 and positive 6. If I put those on a number line, they'd both be exactly 6 places away from 0. So those are opposites. Now, there's another term that we can use instead of opposite. Opposite means the same thing as additive inverse. Okay? The inverse property of addition says that a number and its additive inverse, same thing as opposite, add up to 0. Okay? That's always true. A number and its opposite always add up to 0. For example, the number negative 14, the opposite of negative 14 is positive 14, and if I add those two together, I always get 0. If I add a number and its opposite or its additive inverse, I always get an answer of 0. So that's another property to add to the ones that we did in the last lesson. Another new topic. Subtraction is the same thing as adding the opposite of the second number. Okay? For example, 3 minus 5, that would be the same thing as adding the opposite. So instead of subtraction, I have addition, and instead of a positive 5, now I have a negative 5. Now, this looks like you're really doing more work, you're making it more complicated. It's the right process to learn, especially again when we use more difficult problems later. Okay? After you change the subtraction problem to a new addition problem, use the same steps that we used before. The stuff with the same sign, the stuff with the different sign. Okay? Here's how it would work. Example. Negative 3 minus a negative 5. Now, it's a subtraction problem because of that negative sign in the middle. So we need to change subtraction to addition and use the opposite of the second number. Here's the second number, a negative 5. The opposite of negative 5 is positive 5. So we rewrite the problem. The negative 3 in front stays the same. Change subtraction to addition. Change the negative 5 to a positive 5. Now we use the same rules from earlier. Negative 3 plus 5. Those are different signs, negative 3 and positive 5. The bigger number is the positive one. 5 is bigger than 3. How much bigger? It's 2 bigger. So my answer is positive 2. One more example of that. 1.5 minus 8.5. Again, this is a subtraction problem. We need to change it to an addition problem. So subtraction is the same thing as adding. So we change subtraction to addition. And instead of having a positive 8.5, I need a negative 8.5. That got kind of messy. So I changed the subtraction symbol to addition, and I changed the positive 8.5 to a negative 8.5. I added the opposite. Now, since it's an addition problem, I can use the same steps we did before. They're different signs. Which one's the bigger number? We've got 1.5 and 8.5. The 8.5 is the bigger number, and it's the negative 1. How much bigger is it? Well, 8.5 to 1.5, that's 7. It's 7 bigger. And so my answer is, from the negative 7, I get negative 7 as my answer. Okay, we're going to do a word problem with this. Turn to page 33. Near the middle of page 33, there's a got it problem. Got it number 4. Okay? It says, a robot submarine dives 803 feet to the ocean floor. It rises 215 feet as the water gets shallower. Then the submarine dives 2,619 feet into a deep crevice. Next, it rises 734 feet to photograph a crack in the wall of the device. What is the location of the crack in relation to sea level? The submarine starts at the surface, so we're going to start with the number 0. Dives means go down, so we're going to make those negative numbers. Rises means go up, so we're going to make those positive numbers. So if you look back at the problem again, we started at the surface. It says dives to 803, so that's why we have negative 803. Rise to 215, so that's positive. Dive to 2619, so it's negative. And rise to 734, so that's positive. Now, we just have to use order of operations. They're all subtractions and additions, so we just go from left to right. So, 0 minus 803 gives me negative 803, and the rest of my problem stays the same. So we put these two together. Now we're going to put these two together. Negative 803 plus 215 gives me negative 588, and the other two numbers stay the same. Now we're going to put these two negatives together, and we get negative 3207. The last number stays the same. And now we're going to put those numbers together to get our final answer. Negative 2,473 feet. It's a word problem, so you need to have a unit. So it's negative 2,473 feet, and that's below the surface. Practice problems for this section are on page 34, numbers 11 through 43 odd.